We're back, and you're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Hank Boyer. We'd like to introduce Mike Gordon, who's CEO and president of CC Pace. Welcome, Mike. What is CC Pace? What do you guys do?
We're a business and IT consulting company. We specialize in the financial services and healthcare vertical market.
And how large or how small is the organization?
125 or so people.
And how'd you get started?
2 years after college, I had joined a consulting firm out of Jersey, and they decided to sell their branch office, which I was one of 7 people. They offered it to the branch manager, and he asked me and another colleague if we would want to buy the company, which we did.
Excellent. So let me take you back to Wilmington, Delaware, where you grew up. Brothers or sisters?
One older sister and one older brother.
So you were the baby of the family.
I was.
And tell us a little bit about Mom.
Well, my mom actually passed away when I was 5 years old, so I really have no memories of her.
So how did that affect you with her passing away at age 5? How did that impact you growing up as the baby of the family?
Well, it really left a void. You just felt as a kid you were different. You were missing something that everyone else you knew had.
And so how did you adapt?
You just do. At some point, even as a kid, you just decide whether or not you're going to accept, the way things are, or you're going to sort of, bemoan it. And I chose to, this was my lot, and I was going to live with it.
So who taught you to be resilient?
I'm guessing it had to be my father. He was just a very good role model for me. He did lots of things to just make sure that the family did well despite the loss. What
were the qualities that you saw in him that you knew you wanted to emulate as an adult?
He was just a kind person. He was a fair person. In terms of getting into business, it was because of him. He had his own packaging business, and living in Delaware, all around me were parents that worked for DuPont in 9-to-5 jobs, and my father was this entrepreneur that I really looked up to.
Peter.
So you shared with us earlier your passion for solving problems and puzzles. How early did that start to manifest for you?
Oh, I'm probably when I was 5 or 6. So I would, crossword puzzles and the like, jigsaw puzzles. It didn't matter. I loved them all.
So fast forward into your current role as CEO, which is the tougher puzzle to solve, the external challenges or the internal challenges?
That's a great question. It usually is the internal challenges. The external challenges you don't really have control over, so you learn, like I did, to just accept that that's the way things are, and to move on. The internal challenges, you've got so many dynamics often going on that you have to play, and you can influence them, but when you affect one thing, it may, alter something else.
So that's really resilience, speaking a lot into the way that you handle those challenges. Lane?
Mike, I understand you played a lot of sports as a kid. What was your favorite?
Probably tennis.
Isn't that typically an individual performance sport? How did that impact how you approach your business strategy today?
Well, it's interesting. I started out as a singles player, and then I became a doubles player, and I learned I was just actually much better at doubles because I loved the whole mental strategy side of it, whereby singles, it was more physical, and tennis and the doubles really was lots of strategy as to how you could exploit your opponent's weaknesses.
Katie?
How young were you when you started earning money?
I was probably about 13.
What did you do?
So my father would employ pretty much most of the neighborhood kids as part of one of the jobs that he did, and we worked in the packaging plant, packaging one of the products.
And were you the special one called out because you were the son of the owner of the company?
Well, that's what I thought I was when I went there the first day, and my father made sure that was not the case. That in the plant we were all just workers there, and what your last name didn't matter.
And what did you learn about that experience that you take to work every day?
I think it's about how you treat people. I mean, ultimately, within companies these days, the employees have lots of options, certainly in the IT consulting world. And if you don't treat them fairly, if you don't provide balance, if you don't, really give them opportunity, then they're going to go elsewhere, particularly if you're looking for the best and brightest. And so I really took that to heart.
Mina?
And Mike, most 13-year-olds have no interest of working on the summers while everybody's out there playing. So how did you deal with that as a 13-year-old mentally? And then what lessons did you learn that you bring into your company now?
Well, there was work in the summer, and my father, I think, really recognized that, he wanted us to have balance in our lives. And so we still played all the sports. We, maybe didn't have a full day of, of that, but we still did that. And I sort of realized that from a work-life balance, that we have today, you really have to apply that same concept. We do need to work and generate incomes and the like, but lots of things going on in our life are even more important. And so you just got to really show that with your employees that you respect that value.
Mark?
So growing up, you had obviously all your friends from work and the neighborhood. How did you pick your group of friends? So your core group of friends.
It was probably a geographic selection, back then. You could go as far as your bike might take you, and we just had lots of kids, my age around, and so we just started playing together probably when I was 3 or 4, and it grew from there.
Why did they want to hang out with you? What made you special and interesting to them?
I think I just tried to be, someone that really fit in and wanted everyone to get along and play together. And so, I organized a lot of the games that we would play. I would try to make sure that everyone was getting along. I was, one of the younger ones in the neighborhood, and so to some degree, I think, people, treated me as, trying to make sure they sort of took care of me a little bit.
Henry?
A special superpower that made you sort of to get picked first?
What's that? I maybe wouldn't get picked first, but I wouldn't get picked last, where the youngest kid often did. So,
good.
Henry?
I understand you have 2 siblings, an older brother and an older sister.
That's correct.
What was your relationship like with them?
It was strong. I mean, I think that when you lose a parent, it brings you together. And certainly my sister, I think, was looking out for me. My brother and I were like normal brothers. We fought, but we were still, we were competitive. But we had a really good relationship, and both my siblings and I still do to this day.
So it sounds like you supported each other a good amount. How do you think that translates into your work now at CC Pace?
I think you have to realize that that's, how it works in business these days. Most things that we do require lots of collaboration, and you need to foster it. And we've had, in the IT business, people that wanted to be sort of the lone wolf, the superheroes, and they just haven't lasted, because we promote, teamwork and collaboration, and that just, again, is something that I want to make sure is part of the chemistry and culture of CC Pace.
Your dad was a key role model for you growing up. What do you hear him whispering in your ear today as you go about your day-to-day duties? What's he telling you to do or not do?
Be passionate about what you do. Be a good person. Treat your customers well. Most importantly, treat your employees well, because they're the ones that are going to take care of your customers. And just make sure that that you do anything and everything that you do, you feel good about. And if you make a mistake, just fix it.
And what's the website?
ccpace.com, ccpace.com.
Thanks, Mike. We've been speaking here with Mike Gordon, who's CEO and president of CC Pace, here on Executive Leaders Radio. Please don't forget to visit executiveleadersradio.com to learn more about our executive leaders. We'll be right back after this break.